What I saw that my initial thought, my very first thought when I saw that shit, I was like, how do they have worse aim than stormtroopers? Stormtroopers
Are they hitting anything?
All right. Okay. It's a step forward.
Hello. What it is, everybody. The Then and Now podcast is back. I'm the Captain Diesel. Lelouch. Oh, is there an echo? Is that on my end?
That didn't echo.
We don't hear an echo.
Never mind. I guess I'm fucking tripping.
But
Damn.
I am looking forward to watching that later, though.
Oh yeah.
Are we
Bloopers.
keeping that in immediately off the top? First second of the new year. It's a trick.
Hey, I'm leaving that to Cito. We gonna run that shit back then. That's bloopers.
Have him edit out everything.
Hey, it's gonna be fun to let him do what he wants to do with that one. I ain't even. Hello, everybody. Captain Diesel, Lelouch V, and Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy, and
You're listening to the Then and Now podcast.
we're back, y'all. It's been a good little bit.
We got to get her to do the Maybach music tag.
Oh, bro, that'd be funny. It'd be hilarious. Shout out, Pinky. Shout out, Pinky. But guys, this is a special episode or video today. It's gonna be kind of different from our norm, slightly, because we're gonna try to be setting this up in a more constructive format, I guess, going forward with our movie reviews. Kind of trying to give more of an in-depth analysis, which
Constructive.
we
This movie.
trying to be. Keyword try. We're talking about Rebel Moon, guys. The newest installment in Zack Snyder's legacy of films that he has in his under his belt. We have some very interesting thoughts on this and on him as a director and movie maker in general. But before we get into any of those details, I will let my co-host introduce themselves and kind of give their thoughts on the topic first. We can start with Professor E.
Yo, Happy New Year's to y'all, everyone out there. It's actually the first time I've seen y'all's faces this year. It's cool. I saw Charlie briefly. One at a time. That's right. But anyways, happy to be here. Happy to be talking about movies, even if it is a Zack Snyder joint. This one, this one is awesome. I am Professor E. King of the Comics, and it was as I was watching it, I was actually taking notes for my class, which I teach, basically on a cautionary tale, what not to do when you're writing a story or making your own, trying to do your own world building. But I'm excited to get into this. Excited to get into this for real.
Yeah,
Mr. Stainmeter.
I mean, I'm Lelouch V. Go to blur.com. And yeah, it's really hard to mess up a Seven Samurai story, and they figured it out. So let's get into it.
I do. In all fairness, I think now calling this a Seven Samurai story is a bit insulting to Akira Kurosawa and every. Yeah, that's not. That's, yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and get into some of the marketing first before we get into the actual movie. From what I saw, this movie was being marketed as Zack Snyder's Star Wars. It was another adaptation of like the Seven Samurai or the Hidden Fortress is what the original Star Wars is based off of, if I remember right.
Yeah,
something like that. This and that was very apparent in the beginning of the film. Like there were like direct shots from like A New Hope that were in this film, where he was kind of like, "All right, I'm trying to do my Star Wars, and I want you to understand this is my Star Wars," and that was very apparent from a lot of the lighting, the lumetrics. If you're an editor, you kind of know what that means as far as the lighting of the film. It felt very much like new trilogy, if that made any sense. As far as it being like, it was always like kind of dark, but not dark at the same time. Where it was like it felt like 300, like the 300 lighting, and the way that was colored.
This is the guy who made that too. So.
Yeah, so I'm like, it felt like just like it was for a world where you have all these different races of people and things going on in space. In my mind, yeah, you'll have your dark planets like that, where things are kind of grim. But at some point, you're gonna have some vibrancy inside of your world. But every planet they went to, and like every location they were in, it felt so depressing.
It had overcast. Every planet had overcast.
I'm like, damn, y'all
for
got
people
no sun
that
nowhere?
say that Warner Brothers is the reason why that Justice League was gray. Watch this movie so you can understand it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, when you're auteur, the auteur of when the Kevin Feige of your universe is obsessed with just gray emo tones everywhere. So, of course, it's gonna look like this. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you mentioned the opening. You mentioned a lot of shots. We have to real quick. We have to get into the opening shot. No pun intended. The opening shot of this film is literally a picture of a, I guess you could say, symbolic vagina, but that's just pretty much a very
Oh
blatant.
God. What another thing that kind of just, you can tell this is a Zack Snyder film. Like 15 minutes into the movie, there's a literal celebratory orgy that happens. And in my head, I'm like, why is that how we celebrate a good art? I mean, hey, to each their own. Hey, you get down how you get down. But I'm like, in this village of farmers where there are also children are also around and just like openly can listen into this stuff. Because after the nightly orgy happens, there's like a scene right after where a child is talking to the main character, and she's like, "Oh, I heard you in such and such's tent last night." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Girl, aren't you like 8? Why are you why are you listening to this shit?" But yeah, it just felt very weird very Zack Snyder. It felt very Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Classic.
So
Classic.
what I want to get into really quickly is because we're talking about establishing scenes and set pieces and things of that nature. Ethan, because we have clips for this film, people. When I try to see how much we can sneak in without getting copyright. If we get claimed, it is what it is. We're not making money off the videos at the moment anyway. We're just trying to avoid a strike. So we have like clips here that we each picked out from the film that are kind of true tried and
keep on calling it a
testaments.
film. We can't keep on this a film. Let's call this what it is. A joint. A joint is better. I can live with a joint. It's not a joint.
It's a thing.
I ain't gonna disrespect Spike Lee like that. Call it a joint. The movie.
This
We have
thing 1 and then thing 2 comes out later.
It's Dr. Seuss. They call these Dr. Seuss's halves.
So we all picked a scene from this thing to kind of speak on, to kind of give examples of good or bad from the film that we think we wanted to just kind of have a little conversation on. But Ethan's in particular was about establishing shots and establishing tone and individuals in particular. So I wanted to kind of get into yours first while we're here on it.
Right, careful. The ground's uneven till you get to the bridge.
Thank you, Private Harris. But I believe I can manage.
You know, they won't fight anymore, boss.
What do you mean they won't fight anymore?
That's something in their programming. Once the king was killed, they just laid down their weapons and refused to fight. Just watch. No matter what I do, he doesn't fight back. Hey! Careful with that stuff, you stupid machine! I'll turn you into scrap, you dumb shit! You hear me? You're not hearing me. Hey! Stop! What if I shoot you instead, huh?
Yeah.
So Ethan, you want to go ahead and speak on your clip?
So we've all seen all kinds of levels of baddies and goodies in movies and TV shows and comic books, things of that nature. And when you're a kid, it's of course encouraging to see very stark contrast between good guys and bad guys. You need that kind of that clear line drawn. Makes perfect sense. But as you get older, things get more and more nuanced. And ironically enough, since Snyder loves him some gray, you'd hope for his characters to be a little more gray, have a little bit more ambiguity of some kind. But in his worlds, they tend to be very much like, no, I'm a lawful good or a lawful asshole. There's very little in between for the most part. And just seeing the way that guy was reacting, that soldier, I guess he was a sergeant, whatever that position he was in the military there, to be that overwhelmingly just evil for no reason whatsoever, it's kind of like, why? Why are we still making characters this poorly drawn? Let's try to inject some actual life into them. And then making other characters, the good guys, just painfully, lawfully good. Boy Scout to the very end. I want to see characters that have something unique or different about them. Of course, you're introducing character, I get that, but you can introduce them in a more fun way than just, I'm a bad guy or I'm a little princess good guy. Something different. That's all.
Otis?
So this scene kind of reminds me of like when you go to karaoke and there's someone singing and they know what the notes are supposed to be, but they can't hit them. You know what I'm saying? Like, Snyder obviously knows that, like, you know, oh, you have to make your villains bad, but like he doesn't know, like, oh, I'm gonna have this random dude just decide to pick on this thing that literally can't fight back. Like, that's not that's not enough, right? Like, tie in some discrete, I guess, is it botism? It's because it's not racism.
Yeah,
you know
that's
like
I guess so.
like to have some dialogue context, not just random robot doing nothing, actually helping me. I'm gonna
Literally helping
shoot.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll say is, I think most of the issues with that scene in particular for me came from the acting. I thought Buddy was like comedically over the top with how aggressive he was trying to portray it.
True.
Because I think that scene is very, I'll say it's very cliche in the sense of like, all right, pick on the most helpless thing possible to make your point unprovoked. Because I think they explained it earlier in the clip that the reason he did that was because during the assassination of the, also spoiler alert to
Queen went
everybody,
down.
yeah, he was like, well,
They
the
didn't
robots
fight
didn't fight
back.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so we're explaining the inanimate objects and then pick on them then. Okay. Which is something that I didn't see consistent through the rest of the movie either. It was just something one off that they
Literally just that one scene, bro.
Yeah.
just to
He's
establish
gone the
that.
rest of the movie pretty much. Yeah.
So for me, how at least I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on what you would do as well. But for me, how I would do that scene if I'm trying to establish this person that's supposed to be a big bad, well, not even a big bad, it's just a dude that they killed off like literally 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later.
Next scene.
I'd like it to be more subtle as far as like him being triggered, because he was triggered too soon. Maybe like the robot drops something on him or like does something wrong. All right, cool. Then you can see him escalate things to a 25 versus a 10. But that was just so like unprovoked and looked like they were trying to get a job done, and it didn't fit for me in particular. Which I'm glad Ethan brought that particular scene up.
Exactly. That's what typically is known as contrived. That's contrived. You're trying to force something just for no reason at all. Like you said, I'm glad you touched on the acting. The acting, calling that acting again is very generous. That was just the most. Like that's so over the top. Like Otis said, talking about the going to karaoke and try to hit those crazy high notes and can't come anywhere close to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so bad. It seems comical. It just seems overwhelmingly just comical, so to speak. So
yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to portray a character that is ruthless, or like somebody that gets their just desserts. I feel like this is low hanging fruit. This is the equivalent of the school bully book checking somebody for no reason that has no arms.
exactly what that is.
Like
exactly.
Quite literally, because he was holding stuff and he was just like, in my head when he shot him, I wanted to hear the R2D2 music go off. Yeah.
as he slides back. But the thing is, like they say, this is a very, very old cliche, worn out like trope. Like I mean, even this has been more recently. Movies they haven't done this as much because it's such an old cliche. And good old Snyder had no problem bringing it back. It's like, why are you doing this again, bud? Why are you doing this again?
Yeah,
also, he got to the point where he's already ready to shoot his own, it was his own, I guess, officer of what kind of maybe it's an ensign, whatever he was in the military. Shoot him in the throat. I mean, just for stepping up. It's like, what's going on here? That's a wild maniac. Why is he even in the military? This is just crazy. It's too much. It's just too much.
And the last thing I want to get into before we kind of move on to further parts of the movie is with that particular part. If everything felt like a lot of wasted scenes and wasted moments, because you have this character you're trying to establish as being like this trigger happy evil person. You're establishing this robot. You're also establishing this young guy who's supposed to be something, I guess, of the sort. And literally all of them are not in the rest of the movie after like 30 minutes in. Which, granted, you could argue that it's because he's setting them up for future parts of the film. But again, for me, I feel like you're supposed to establish things for that movie as well. Like you need things to be standalone. I get that you want to make like a trilogy or a 3-part thing, and that's what this was announced as ahead of time. But I would like for each of these to stand alone on their own first and foremost. So it's not just okay, in order to enjoy the second one all the way, I have to watch up until this point of the first one, and then vice versa, going back and forth. But
right,
I digress.
Well, because what you do, I mean, in a sense, what you're doing too is you're kind of doing what the Blake Snyder's, save the cat or keep the dog moment. Obviously, the big Beluga is doing to keep the dog as far as shooting the robot, establishing him as an evil baddie. It'd be kind of cool if he was to kind of be around in some capacity later on, or if he's doing to save the cat with the young recruit who's standing up for the robot. Have him join up with the team, this whole 7 Samurai squad, and he's kind of like the noble, the noble protege to our main character. That'd be cool too. Nope, none of these things, none of this matters at all in 5 minutes. It's like, why would you go through all this trouble for nothing?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest fix is just take the scene out. Just
Right. Which is crazy because the next thing I was going to say was going to use my clip for the next part of the conversation. But just to keep on with the villains and the villain aspect, what I would like to discuss is the main big bad villain, who is very forgettable for me because I
Draco
can't remember his
Malfoy
name
in
at all.
space.
Draco Malfoy in space is the great way to fucking depict it.
It's Screen's character.
Is that what his name is? The actor's
The
name?
actor's name. Yeah.
What I'll say to give
Wait, Charlie, we can't see your
Snyder
face, though.
some. Yeah, no, it's gonna be shown on the. I'm recording it on the other end. I have the phone to my head so I can fucking hear y'all because I can't hear y'all from my phone speaker.
All right, so
Yeah, it's gonna look really weird on the recording. It's the most ghetto rig ever. But we're making it work.
classic. This is a classic that now.
But what I want to give props on Snyder for one particular scene, which is the scene I'll send it to Cito so you can add it in post, was the Tarantino-esque tension scene he kind of built up inside of the farm area when they actually came down to harass the village about requiring more rations. I thought that scene was a lot better at establishing the overall arcing villain than the scene we talked about initially. Because in this one, it was built up. It was a little bit more methodical. You were introduced to some of the thought processes of this character and some of the motivations of him through this monologue. And you're also starting to see these other characters get a little bit uncomfortable at the possibility of like power. It was one of those things of like, talk soft and carry a big stick. I can't remember which president said that shit, but that's what it felt like. Literally, like, pun intended.
It was like it's a little on the nose, a little on the nose. Yeah.
Exactly. So I liked him. I thought if I have to point to any positive parts of the film, I thought that scene in particular was good. And in moments of that nature, I enjoyed that villain from that moment because it was just that of like he talked quietly and carried a big stick, which was very different from the rest of the film. I feel like a lot of the other parts of the movie, it was very like in your face and loud and Snydery, and then him and whoever, it felt like somebody completely different wrote his stuff.
Yeah.
Because he was completely different from everything else in the film to me.
It evoked very much because I agree that scene was the best scene by far. Obviously, part of the help too is having Corey, the person who got, spoiler alert, got hit by the stick. His acting was really good too. I mean, that club,
Sindri.
The whatever that thing was, that mallet. It reminded me a lot of Hans Land at the beginning of Inglourious Basterds, as far as like obviously down to the whole Nazi outfit too. But the idea of just like it's gonna drop, it's something's gonna explode, gonna blow, but you don't know when or how exactly. And when it does, like, okay, it's pretty cool. It was actually worth the build up too. See, I agree. His part was the most fun to watch. Again, he was nuanced. He didn't come in there saying, I'm evil, watch me be evil, I'm evil. It was very much like he seemed like he was being polite and being nice, and he was smiling at people, but at the same time, it was unnerving. No one trusted him. Everyone was like, this guy is obviously bad news, but it was a much better written scene and a much better portrayed character. So yeah, I agree.
Honestly, that was the for sure best scene of the entire movie. Honestly, at that point, the movie was like, maybe this movie isn't gonna be terrible, and then I watched the rest of it. But like every time I see that scene, I do think of the Dreamville song "Stick," though. Like it just screams in my brain. I got a new stick.
Jesus Christ. I ain't gonna hold you. That's low key. That's what I was thinking about.
And now that's ruined for me
that
too.
That needs to be real, actually. Just somebody just choreographing him hitting him with the stick. With that song "Stick." Like
there's got to be at least two of them out there. It has to be.
That song and the fucking and the walk of the heart in the paint track, like that instrumental was one in my head. Like whenever he does something, I think he hears that shit in his head before he fucking just goes off on people.
But honestly, watching that scene, I got mad at the dude that he hit with the stick too. It was like, why lie? Like you see, they have guns, a lot of them. Just like make sure that you and your people live for now. Maybe poison the food or something later, but like, why lie?
Yeah.
That being said, I want to go ahead and move into the introduction of the Luke Skywalker of this tale. I almost called her Atrocitus. I can't remember her name. Atreides? Is that what her name was?
Yeah.
Atrocious actor.
You know what?
I would
It
go
was,
ahead.
and it's bad. It was bad line delivery and everything. But she's been amazing in other stuff. Like I liked her in King, and I like Kingsman. I liked her in Star Trek 3, the third Star Trek movie she was in. Granted, there were smaller roles, but she actually knows how to act. This was bad.
Right.
I was like, wow, what is going on here?
Part of it, I do honestly believe a part of it was a lot of it was script, because there were certain lines she had that I was like, oh, this is cringy.
Yeah.
One in particular was when she's addressing the general of Buddy was in the African guy that's in the beginning of Guardians, that he's in everything and nobody ever knows what his name is.
Jaimin Hanso?
Respectfully, is that what his name is?
Yeah, Jaimin
The
Hanso.
general, the African general.
Yeah.
I felt so bad because
in everything, bro. That man.
And I never know his name.
Roll.
He probably in like what 5 or 6 movies a month.
Him and Evil Dave Chappelle they getting that bag, boy.
Evil Dave Chappelle. Who is Evil Dave Chappelle?
You know when you see him. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Bokeem Woodbine? Not Bokeem Woodbine.
I'm gonna find a picture of him and show him at some point in chat.
You gotta give that to Cito. That title alone, that to be your official like handle is evil. That's the best part. Now I'm very curious as to who that is. There's no way around him, because also he could be the friendliest guy ever.
His name is he don't play that in his movies, not ever.
He's always a bad guy. He's always a villain, and I never know what his name is. I just know I hate him.
The same laugh every time in every movie.
But respect to those guys. But in that particular scene, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna be the general that lets people die again." Like a lot of her line, like I feel like she delivered them how it was, like how Snyder wanted, I guess, or. Because I refuse, to Ethan's point, I refuse to believe she's that bad of an actor from seeing her in other stuff.
She's not.
Because it was egregious on how bad and how flat that character was.
Yeah, it was flat. That's what it was, just flat. But it was constantly flat the entire. Just flat.
It felt like they were like reading lines, is what it felt like.
A Snyder flick, you have to be as gray as the camera shots are.
but
I can't even say that, because in fucking 300, motherfuckers are screaming everywhere in 300.
Yeah. Leonidas had a personality and a half.
I'm like, come on, bro.
He was a Scottish Spartan, so I mean that was.
Yeah, I mean, it may not have been like what you would think what an actual. Spartan would sound like, but still, it was like, okay, it's not boring. I'm not bored watching him on screen. He was emoting. He was emoting.
Yeah, this ain't gonna lie. This felt a lot like Henry Cavill Superman. I ain't gonna shit, but it felt like Superman in general, where it's just very like
dry.
It's like you have to be
dry,
stoic.
yeah, really dry, really flat.
It's like you have.
And I was hoping to get some kind of bump, because it felt like there were like bits and pieces of a person underneath there in different scenes she had with other characters, like any romantic scene or like 30 scenes she had. I'm like, all right, she's smiling. She actually smiles. Her eye movement is there, like she's moving her eyes, things of that nature. But like, if it wasn't her flirting with somebody, it was just stone face, stone wall, and not even in an entertaining way. Because you have those characters that are like the straight face characters that you enjoy, but sure. I felt like we didn't get that in a good way there with her. And again, that she was in the flashbacks, the flashbacks. Oh my god, I was so over flashbacks in this fucking movie.
Yeah, that same big over the top orchestral.
That shit felt like the Naruto swing,
bro. Like slow motion of her running through rubble by herself, shooting at nothing.
All slow motion. That's one part. I mean, we get into this now,
and they cut back and forth.
I should have made that my clip.
We have to get into this. They're shooting at nothing. We have so it's a big war against what? The front of the camera. We have no idea what they're shooting at. What they're fighting. They're just shooting guns with haircuts. They all have haircuts.
He didn't have.
They ran out of budget
for the other side, bro.
He spent all the budget on the CGI.
That's
what's crazy. When I saw that,
my scene. But
okay.
When I saw that, my initial thought, my very first thought when I saw that shit, I was like, how do they have worse aim than stormtroopers?
Are they hitting anything?
Shoot her. She by herself next to the one piece of rubble in the clearing. Shoot that.
Yeah.
Shawty hopped into a spaceship where there's one door.
fighting?
If you just shoot at the door, you'll hit her.
Yes. Jesus. Yeah, it
Or
was.
just
This
like
shit was
throw a
insane.
grenade, like use an explosive that you had to have used to like destroy the buildings that you destroyed. Like just do something.
Yeah. Also, we had to, before you go into your clip, Otis, I'm sorry to hold it back. As you were saying before, it's her backstory, the flashback. The first time we go into that flashback, she says, she literally says, like, I'm going to tell you my past right now. It's like, it's the most like non-subtext, just spelled out exposition. I'm going to tell you my backstory. I think it's verbatim. I'm going to tell you my backstory right now. It's like, good Jesus. That's like, if you're
Gather round, children.
if you're a 4-year-old, come up with a script on the spot, you would say something better than that. Jesus Lord.
Because Snyder knows what a good thing is supposed to look like, and he is trying to mimic that instead of making a new good thing. That's
Exactly.
how I kind of read what he does. Because like aesthetically, I mean, you can tell that there were budget issues there in this film, and he still was able to make a movie that looked aesthetically pleasing. So much credit to him for that. But like, it was the shallowest shit I've ever seen, bro. Like, it's like, oh, bad things are happening, and we have to do it because we're the good guys. Not like real motivation, no real like depth. It was very vapid. It was like,
yeah.
So let's speak on that real quick. I want to speak on what the plot is, or what it was supposed to be, I guess. To Otis's point, what'd you say?
Seven Samurai. Like, it was supposed to be that. They tried to do that, and then they tried to put a twist in it that actually wasn't a twist because they happened in Seven Samurai. And
Right, yeah, there's
So elaborate a little bit further for me. For people that haven't seen Seven Samurai, know what it is. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
It's a story about a small village that has resources that a big entity wants. They come to get it. They say they'll be back for it in X amount of time. In that time, a champion comes up from within the village to go collect all these warriors of legend to help this small village stand against this big empire that is trying to do more bad stuff for the sake of bad stuff. In that, they were supposed to highlight, some of the darkness that happens within the world, and some of the relationships that are built out of necessity, and showcase the difference within the class system. I didn't do any of that in this. They just like, yeah, we're bad because bad. Yeah. We just like
also,
doing things because it's not enough.
Yeah. And the heroes, quote unquote heroes, they had like you said, this vapid, they had no personalities. Like, there was a part where we're talking about our boy Jaimin Hansu, which I guess you're not saying that's the evil Dave Chappelle, but Jaimin Hansu is the dude that was in the Guardians of the Galaxy, where he says like it's Star-Lord. He goes, who? That brother there.
Who? Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jaimin Hansu. So that cat, there's a part where she goes and sees him I guess he's like on a boulder or something, just chilling there. And she's like, join my team. He's like, okay. He's like, there's no like actual like join like actual real personalities.
So you know what this really reminded me of? That part, like that whole like excursion of her just getting her quote unquote team.
Yeah.
Like, remember the episode of Rick and Morty when they had to do the heist?
Yes.
And he just showed up to you son of a bitch. I'm in.
Yes, it's exactly what it was. It's insane. But even with that, there's more personality. Because they're saying, like you said, it shows them doing something and they say a funny line. With this, they're like doing nothing. They're just like, what?
You son of a bitch, I'm in. He like tried to fight it for a second.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm no general anymore. I don't do this. And she's like, are you gonna let the people die for nothing? And I'm like, well, that was easy. I think
that's literally wow. Because it
gave him one good convincing argument. He's like,
because here's one thing they established within the movie was that she didn't know like a lot of these people. These were like some of the actual contacts that the other guy that was with her knew, or something like that. So if he had, if there's a background or a history that she had with these people, it'd have been something different. But she didn't have a history with them. Also, she was like essentially a evil stormtrooper herself in a past life. They wouldn't want to work with her. They'd be like, "Yo, you killed my entire planet. Get away from me." And your acting sucks. Like her charisma. If we're playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now, her charisma is like a -5. There's no reason. There's no reality where she should be able to get anybody to do anything she wants. It makes no sense at all.
Give me your homework, nigga.
Literally.
That's like, that'd be a better movie. That'd be a better movie.
I'm fucking crying. Oh, they tried to show like a Palpatine in this too, and I'm like, all right, he's not really intimidating either. What is his point here? He's like, hey, don't fail again. Yeah. Or he was like, his big point was, so you're telling me you found the biggest enemy to the throne and you let her live? I'm like, nigga, nobody found her until he got there. You didn't know where she was. Why are you still mad?
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody knew where she was.
Right.
And you weren't looking that hard because obviously she was like on this small ass planet. And he found her relatively easy.
Yeah, and he didn't care about it either. He just left once he found her. He's like, cool. It's a mess. It's just wow.
My
it's
biggest
baffling.
point too. One of the bigger things is they did all this to save the village, and I'm like, okay, what now? Because you have 2 more movies after this, and they're about Buddy is alive again, and he's about to come and eviscerate that village. That village is so done.
Came from the dead.
If that village is
It's not like, yeah, you broke my stick, but I got a new stick. Oh shit! Like literally, like what can they actually do against that army? Right?
That's what I'm trying to understand though too, because even in like Seven Samurai or Magnificent Seven, there have been iterations of even Denzel did one Magnificent Seven. There's at least like, okay, yeah, it is a few events versus many, but they're not using space age weapons against pitchforks and swords. It's like, this is, I don't know. You gotta. This ain't gonna work.
My guess is just maybe there's some Jedi type shit going on that evens the playing field as far as mysticism goes on. And that was another thing I was looking forward to was like the quote unquote sabers that they were having, which are essentially just like bootleg blades of chaos. They're like swords that heat up.
Or the laser
and I'm
swords.
like, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why they heat up at different colors. Girl should have lost like over and over and over because like she has like 8 spiky legs versus 2 swords, so like stab her. Oh, like anytime, just like she blocked with both swords. Stab her with the other 6 legs you got and 2 arms. Like,
and her reflexes weren't even that crazy. Like it was like she did a regular ass block and like slid through, and when she slid through, you didn't kill her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even then, she didn't die in the gunfight. That's the biggest thing for me was in the final fight on the dock where she's not blocking the gunfire. She's not trying to dodge it. They're just missing her. She's just walking around on some Michael Myers shit, stabbing people, and they're just not hitting her. They're just not hitting her. I'm like, why have you not killed her yet? She's not blocking fire. She's not. She's just walking from person to person, stabbing them, and like hitting niggas with her karanas and shit, like Rey Mysterio.
Machetes. Shoot her.
You can't miss.
That are bright.
Miss.
At nighttime, they're bright as hell.
Jeez, it was. But the worst. I mean, she was my favorite character to look at. She's my favorite one to visually. Her design and everything was awesome. But it was like these characters are just. They're pretty much. It's all like you said before. It's all flash, no substance. It's a weird thing, and that the plot in and of itself, I get. It is very much like it's try to save this small planet, I guess, from this big bad corporate army. But this execution, there's no meat on the bone. There's no subplot. There's no dynamics in the characters. The most interesting character probably is either the bad guy that is screenplayed or the other bad guy that kind of turned on him by Charlie Hunnam. And even he wasn't great. I was like, get rid of this guy too. He was clearly going to turn on them. There's no reality which you couldn't see that coming a mile away. But so it's like there's no charm in the cast.
You can't trust the biker.
I don't get it.
You can't trust the biker, bro.
Never trust bikers.
Right. That was a thing I saw coming from a mile away too. Because I'm like, all right, somebody's giving out information. I wonder who it is. not the general. It's not that guy. It's like it would have been a good twist if it was the same guy that gave up the crops in the beginning. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, we thought he was redeemed.
Right.
No, we're gonna make it
that would have been a much better
overtly
twist.
obvious person.
Yeah. That would have hurt at least more. Like, okay, this actually stings a bit more.
I don't know, man. I want to kind of wrap it up because we're already kind of like in a really weird bootleg kind of setup here that we have going on.
Oh yeah, it's this thing.
God bless Sito if he can find a way to make this thing entertaining.
We'll see.
I don't know how.
Find out. Sorry, Zito.
I don't know how the fuck I would edit this shit to make it work. So I'm going to pray he can figure this out.
We will see.
Before we get ready to get up out of here, let's one give our final thoughts on the film, and then two give the rating for the film.
So
let's start with Otis's time.
This movie was a joke, like so much so that they actually put a joke about it in the movie, which is my clip. Like there's a scene at the end when they're riding on horseback to this village. Why the fuck they're on horseback? Because like space stuff, like just ride the ship there. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, they're riding these horses back to the city, and they say like this would have been a beautiful place to die, which is I feel like Snyder's backhanded shot of saying I wanted to film the fight scene here, but you didn't give me the money for it, so we had to do it on this space dock that I made. Like that's
Low key. Okay, that shit. That would have felt like some Snyder shit. That would have felt like the fucking battle in the Valley at 300. What was it, the Valley of something? I can't remember.
Yeah,
that they had against the Persians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like this movie, like it wasn't a bad movie in the sense where like it's like unwatchable. This is not like you can make it through it, but like don't choose to do it. Like, why would you? Like, there are so many better things you could do with 2.5 hours than watch this movie. With that being said, I don't hate it as much as some of the people out there do. Because, like, I've seen some people saying, like, this isn't even like. It's like, I mean, it is for Snyder. This makes way more sense than anything else I've seen him write. Like, way more. Period.
It's more. Yeah, I mean, it is coherent. There's no like, I have no idea what's happening. It's like, no, I know exactly what's happening. This is not Sucker Punch Part 2. It's like, no, it's clear what the plot is. Yeah, it's very. It also is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I finished your part. Finish your point.
No, I'll just say I'm not gonna tear it for too long. It's very much a Snyder joint because it's like there's no. The amount of slow mo, I think someone's going online and seeing how much slow mo there actually is. Like if you speed up to the proper time, this movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes, something like that. That's how much slow mo there is in it. It's very much. It has all of his hallmarks.
To do slow mo of somebody like eating just one time, just like I just what else is
let him
there
direct that shit from Death Note,
right? The chip,
yeah.
You probably been waiting for that.
He wants that call. He wants to call. It's exactly what I thought it would be. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be from a Snyder joint. It's just a bunch of like just muscles. Might literally makes right. Slow motion fights, visuals. The visuals in and of themselves, like a lot of the cinematography is like, this is stunning stuff. But man, there is no substance at all. And it's if you are trying.
Don't forget the orgies. You forgot the orgies.
I apologize. I forgot the orgies.
I intentionally tried to forget that.
You never will. It's brained into your. It's scorched into your brain. but yeah, man.
I think this is a Snyder 8. This is a Snyder 8,
really?
Which is an everybody else 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can go ahead and rate it. For me, I'll probably go ahead and give it a solid like 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Like the optimist in me wants to give it a 5, but it's got to be a 4 because I didn't watch this all in one sitting. I watched like the first 15 minutes when I was on vacation at my family. Waited another week and a half till I got back to my apartment. Watched like another 45 minutes one day, and then finished it the next day. Like I couldn't watch this all in one sitting. I had to take breaks in between to finish this up. And that's me. Y'all already know how I get down about having to finish it to know how things end. Yeah. I genuinely did not care about this movie I was watching. I'm like, all right, the more and more I watch it, the more and more I do not care.
Bronze McConaughey did make me like turn it off in that scene where he was trying to tame a griffin.
Why? Yeah.
Like,
They gave that was a whole like 20-minute sequence of him like riding a griffin, just to leave the griffin behind.
Slow mo and everything. That's another thing too. It's like that's a fantastic.
Why the fuck did y'all leave a griffin behind?
Take that with you. It's the greatest asset in any war is a flying beast. I give it a 2. It's not good, man. I was amused only from the sense of this is a perfect object lesson to show my class. Like, do not do this. Do not write this way. Do not introduce characters this way. I was just, and it was every fight was in slow motion. Every action scene was in slow motion. And I was like, why do you have to have a slow motion where a person gets pushed backwards in a bar to see them trip over a stool? It's like, it's not important. It was boring. Like, it was so much of the same with no actual reason that I was bored constantly. I tried to watch all in one sitting too, and I couldn't do it either. And I didn't care about any character at all. You my boy Jamin Hansu, and I didn't care about Jamin. I love Jamin Hansu, and I didn't care about this movie. So, 2. I give it a 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've never thought I'd be the optimist here. It's a 5, just because like I can follow it. Like if you're if your movie is so broken that like it just doesn't like make sense, like like Sucker Punch does, or like any part that wasn't like directly out of the comic from the Watchmen, or like the second 300, or like Justice League, or like anything else Snyder does, like this is way more comprehensive than almost every other project I've seen him on. So I give him credit for that. And again, like aesthetically, it wasn't the worst thing that I've ever seen, but like you can tell that man was balling on the budget for this. You can tell he was balling on the budget.
But yeah, man, this has been Captain Diesel.
So you got 2K tonight either, dude.
Nope, nigga, I ain't even watching. I can't. I may be able to get on Baldur's Gate, maybe.
Yeah, you can be on there without being online.
I've been playing that offline.
Anyways, as we were saying, we got to dismount, so Cito can.
Yeah, so we'll see y'all later. Adios, has been in our podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We got a lot of shit coming for you guys. A lot of dope shit.